All right. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Shift Change podcast. However, this is take 3. Uh, for those of you that know me, I'm pretty good at, I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I do know that I eventually figured it out, right? So this is take 3. I just sent out a link to episode 1 to a few people. They gave me some feedback, said that I had audio for a while and then it disappeared. My assumption is that's because my screen went to sleep and then it stopped recording. I don't really know. I do know that this is the third time I've had to do this. And if anything has taught me, the more I do something, the more I screw it up, the more I learn, the better I get at it. This is going to be no different. So, Shift Change Podcast, what is it? Let's talk about that for a second. This is for the people that I work with on a daily basis. We're in the industry of critical care transport. Uh, we're in the business of just being better people, trying to be better at what we do, and more importantly, just trying to get better at life, right? At least that's the business I'm in. So, the version of this podcast is going to be different than version 1 and version 2 because it's unscripted. I have a few illegible notes, uh, none of which I can really read after my initial outline of how I wanted the episode to go. But that's really going to be the theme of this whole thing, right? Is it's going to be unscripted. There's going to be some topics. The intention is for this to be very short. It's to fill up your commute on the way to work. It's to fill up your commute on your way home from work. It's maybe to fill up a few minutes of downtime on your job, or you're waiting in between, kid sporting events or whatever the case may be. This is not intended to be, a 2 or 3 hour deal. This is intended to be a 10, 15 minute, 20-minute, whatever the topic is, rant, uh, discussion. But for whatever reason, I feel like I've been called to do this. It's been on my mind for a long time. I absolutely love podcasts. I absolutely love getting information from podcasts. Uh, I'm inspired every day by the things that I learn from other people that do life better than me, um, and I'm certainly interested in passing that information on to the people that I'm closest with, and those are my family, my few friends, and the people that I work with. So this podcast is we're going to talk a lot about a little bit about the industry, but mostly about just trying to be better humans. How to be better humans for each other, with each other, because of each other, that kind of thing. So this episode 1, is titled Momentum. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got to that title. In 2024, we were challenged by our manager to come up with a word that defines us for the year, right? So my word is growth, something that I've been working on for a long time. If I had to pin it down to whenever I decided to just try to figure out why I'm the way I am, what makes me tick, what makes me react a certain way. It's probably when I left the air medical transport industry in search of basically the meaning of life. Like, how do I manage my life and make it better? Well, at the time, I felt like I had to give up something to get something, and I gave up that part of my life. It didn't take me long to realize that that was probably the part of my life that I really shouldn't have given up. Um, but life's a learning curve, right? Like, you don't know until you don't know. So put it on a year, 2017, really a little bit here and there for my entire life. But if I had to pin it down, it was that point when I decided that, all right, I am the way I am because of XYZ, and I need to try to fix XYZ in order to be the person that I want to be, right? So my word was growth. One of our young colleagues, who's in his mid 20s, seems to have his shit together, like real buttoned up dude. Um, his word was momentum, and I absolutely love this word. And I'm going to tell you why I love this word. Um, it's not the first time I've been exposed to the word. One of the podcast descriptions I listen to is the Jason Khalipa podcast, and Jason Khalipa was one of the original CrossFitters. Won the first ever CrossFit Games. Just a buttoned up dude, super guy. Well, I don't know him personally, but probably the most positive person I've ever met or not ever listened to. Like, he's upbeat all the time. If you think you're too busy to do something, listen to this guy's day and you will be embarrassed by how much stuff he gets done in a day. And he is just fired up about every piece of it, right? From his workout to his interaction with his family, to his business ventures, to his podcast, to his uh, whatever, to his jujitsu, to his tactical games training. It doesn't make a difference. Like the guy is fired up all the time, and he maintains what I assume he maintains that level of intensity in everything he does. So his mantra is never let your momentum get to zero, right? So what does that mean? What does it mean to create momentum? What is momentum? What is all the things that involved with that? Well, when I think of momentum, I think of I'm a Gen Xer, so I think of Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote and Saturday morning cartoons. And the coyote is standing at the top of a hill and he's got this big boulder in front of him and he pushes the boulder down. And his intention is to smash the Roadrunner as he runs by on the road, right? And so that boulder starts high on the mountain and it goes slow and slow and slow and it builds and builds and builds until it's just ripping down the mountain. And true to form, the Roadrunner passes just in front of it. The boulder goes across the road, it kind of goes up another hill and it starts to get slow and slow and slow, and then that boulder stops for just a minute, for just a split second. The momentum is lost, right? It's at a dead still. And then the boulder starts going backwards and it goes back up the hill and smashes the coyote, right? So what does that mean and how does it relate to what we do? Well, his intention was to smash the Roadrunner. So as the boulder was going down the hill, you could see it in his eyes. He was just fantastically happy that this plan was going to work. Well, it didn't, and then all of a sudden his momentum stopped, and then the boulder started going backwards, and that was the demise of the coyote, right? So how do we apply that to life? Well, it seems like if we ever get to a point where we're still, that's in life when we kind of try to that's where basically we lose focus on our identity, who we are, and where we're going, right? Is we've let that momentum get to zero. We were headed in a direction, we stopped, and we never started again. Whether that be weight loss, strength training, learning a new skill, learning a new hobby, personal growth, pick your thing, right? The new year is full of people that are inspired by something, but and with good intention, whether it's to go to the gym, go to church, uh, read a passage in the Bible, whatever the case may be. But they never gain momentum in that venture. They start, but they stop. So the real world kind of analogy I use, or the real world application I use, is I have a friend of mine who's always complaining that the garage is a shithole, right? And it really is. Like I've seen it; it's messy. Um, and I picture him standing outside in his garage, just looking at the chaos and not knowing where to start. Where all he needs to do is just pick up a box and put it on a shelf, right? And then that box leads to another box and he puts that on the shelf, and pretty soon he's got a third box on the shelf, and now all of a sudden 2 hours later he's got a clean garage because his momentum never stopped. If he were to get halfway through it and go, oh, you know what, I'll take a break, have a sandwich, whatever, um, lose his momentum, and then that leads to, well, I'll just do it tomorrow, or I'll do it the next day, or heck, this day's already gone, I'll do it next weekend, and all he's left with is a half clean garage, right? So he never built the momentum, or he had the momentum and then the momentum stopped, right? So how do we apply that to our everyday life? Well, easily. Like this podcast is an example of momentum, right? Like I stared at the record button for a long time before I hit record, right? Because how I had it going in my head is probably much different than what it sounds like to you guys as I'm talking about it, right? But that's okay. Because as I build momentum with the podcast, as I build episode 2 and episode 3 and episode 4, obviously that's going to change. But the important thing is that I keep it going, right? How many times in life have we ever started something and we never saw it through because we lost momentum, right? You can't just wake up today and say, I'm going to be a more positive person. Take one step today and then take 0 steps tomorrow, because we'll never build the momentum enough to get to where we want to go, right? So I look at that on that board, that word momentum, and the fact that this young kid chose it for whatever his reasons are, and I don't really know. They're his own. And how much I love that word, and how much I loved it when Jason Khalifa was telling me about it, and how much I love applying that to my daily life, right? So we have several people on our team that just love to get the ball rolling and will take it and run, right? And then when that has been accomplished, we'll find something else to do. Well, it just doesn't apply to work. It applies to everything. How to be a better husband, how to be a better dad, how to be a better um, amateur crossfitter, how to be a better, pick your hobby. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that you build momentum and you never let that momentum get to zero. So we never stop. We don't have to go speeding through this thing, right? Like this isn't a drag race. This is for the long term. So we don't it doesn't need to be pedal to the metal, but we need to have our foot on the gas at least a little bit. So we just can't be at idle. We just need to be moving slowly towards something, right? We don't need to be speeding towards it, but we need to be always moving towards whatever it is we're trying to do. Today, that momentum led me to this podcast episode. That momentum may lead you to get on the treadmill. It may lead you to start a project that you're scared to start. It may lead you to have a conversation with somebody you're scared to have. But once you build that momentum in that conversation, its words seem to kind of come out, right? Like how we apply that to everyday life. And I think that I needed to pay homage to that word. Like I think it's one of the greatest words on the list, and everybody's got wonderful words. But to me, in this context, I wanted to share that with everybody, and I think it's important that we always keep moving. So that being said, this is episode one. My intention is to build these little 10 or 15-minute podcasts for intentionally the people that I work with, because I'm inspired by them every day. They really motivate me to be a better person every day. I can't imagine not being where I am, um, which kind of leads us into next week's episode two. A little teaser about that episode, and that is you are exactly where you are supposed to be. And I will leave it at that, but we'll talk more about that next week on how you are exactly where you are supposed to be, whether that is not where you want to be or where it is where you want to be. You are there for a reason, and we'll talk about that next week. So as for today goes, I'm going to try to upload episode 3. We'll see how it goes. My first episode was 11 minutes. Number 2 was 12 minutes. This seems to be 13 minutes. Um, I'll figure it out, and I look forward to episode 2. So let me know what you think. I'll send this out to a few people, and then it'll eventually get published, hopefully on Spotify, and we'll see where it goes from here. All right. Talk to you next week.